Hi, my name is Kristen, and I'd love to tell a story that has been unfolding in my life for the past 3.5 years, and it is still actually unfolding. Part of me wants to tell this story because I want so often for people to realize that there is a wonder and mystery about this life, that we never die, we only transform. I mean, I know we all believe, a lot of us believe in heaven, and but yet it is closer than we think. And our past loved ones are closer than we think as well, and they are helping us here on earth. And so my story starts 3.5 years ago. A friend of mine, his son passed away. And I was so sad about the news. I didn't know his son, but of course I want to pray for the family and pray for their peace and comfort in this time of great loss. And so I was up on the mountain where I always go to pray. And I don't know if I've ever prayed so fiercely for a family before, because he was young and it was just devastating. So I was up on the mountain just praying, and with all my heart and all my soul to bring peace to this family. And as I'm praying up on the mountain, their son comes to me on my right side. And I have only had one other spirit come to me like this, like it was more real than real life. And even though I've never met the son, I knew who it was just intuitively. And the only other time that I had the same thing was when my mom passed away, and she came to me after her death, and it was more real than I think real life is. And so anyways, it kind of surprised me. And so I said to the spirit, I said, please go and let your parents know that you're happy. Let them know that you're okay. And when I looked at the spirit, he had the biggest smile on his face. He was shining from ear to ear, and he looked like he was glowing from the inside out. And I still weirdly remember the shirt he was wearing. It was like a white shirt with little blue decorations on it or something. I don't know, like little blue, it wasn't dots, but it was a little bit more decorative than dots, if that makes sense. So anyways, I remember thinking like, he looks so happy. So as I'm saying, oh my gosh, please let your parents know, give them a sign, come to them in a dream. You know, I'm praying this and I'm talking to him. He goes, I will. And he was like looking off in the distance. He goes, I will. He said, but I want you to reach out to Hunter. And I was like, Hunter? He said, yeah, I want you to reach out to Hunter and let him know how incredibly loved he is and how special he is, and that he will be an amazing healer one day, and he will be whole and complete one day. And I remember thinking that was just kind of caught me off guard, but I was like in a moment where here's a spirit talking to me. Well, that could catch me off guard too. And so I said, what do you want me to say to Hunter precisely? And he just said, you are loved no matter what. So he gave me all the words to say. And I said, okay, I will text Hunter. And Hunter was a family friend of ours. And it's my son's best friend. And so at the time I was like, yes, I will text Hunter. But please go to your parents and let them know you're okay. And he said he will. And then he disappeared. And I remember sitting up on the mountain going, wow, that was surreal. So I got my phone out, and I remember I had Hunter's number because it was my son's best friend, and he was like a son to me as well. And so I texted him and I said, I just wanted you to know how loved you are. I wanted you to know that there's nothing that you can do to ever take away how valuable you are, how loved you are. I know you're going through difficult times. He was going through difficult times at the moment. I know you're going through difficult times, I said, but I want you to know you are more precious than anything, and there is nothing that you could do to ever take away God's love from you, nor your parents' love from you, nor any of our love from you. And I just said, we all love you so much and just want the best for you. And I said, God bless you. And then I sent it. And about 2 minutes later, I get a text, and it was from Hunter, and it said, thank you so much, but who is this? And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I feel like a weirdo, but if you watch any of my videos, I am highly intuitive, and so I just learn to listen when I'm told to do something. And the son of a friend of mine who just had passed had told me to do this, so I am doing it. And so I just told him, I said, well, this is Mrs. Husted, and I just was praying up on my mountain, and I got a message, a very strong message, to let you know how loved you are, and that you are perfect as you are. And you are going to get through these difficult times, and you're going to be an amazing healer one day. You're going to help other people who have struggled with the same things you're struggling with right now. And he said, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. And I said, I know that was random, but I just wanted you to know it was a message that God wanted me to tell you. And so therefore, that actually started a really connected relationship between Hunter and I on a spiritual level. And anytime God told me to text Hunter, I would text him, and it would be right when he needed it. And he had gone through some very severe, very difficult, trying times in his life. And each time that were critical, that he needed that extra support, that extra encouragement, somehow God put him on my heart, and then I sent a text. And so it went on like that. And so I will let you know a little bit more about that path, but I want to kind of back up onto the boy of the friend of mine who passed. See, I had asked him when I was praying up on the mountain, please come to your mother and father in a dream, let them know you're okay. Because I remember when my mom did that, that was beautiful for me, and it was very confirming to me. And I said, and please just bring them peace. And so with that story alone, I remember I was driving down the road coming home from work one day, and all of a sudden I hear, like I always do, this download that says pull over and text the family whose son died. And so I was like, oh God, I don't want to do this because it's so uncomfortable. I mean, they're grieving the loss of their son. I don't want to be an intruder. I don't want to be a weirdo. But I knew what God was telling me to do. So I pulled over my car and I texted. And I texted the father and I said, I am so sorry to bother you right now in your deep time of grief, but I was up on the mountain praying for you and your family, and your son came to me, and I asked him to come to you in a dream and a vision to let you know he was okay. And then I also asked him to comfort you in any way. And I just sent it. And I was like, okay, God, like I have learned to step out of my fear of looking weird and my fear of being impulsive, because I know this is where God's calling me right now, to listen to him. And so I did it and I sent it. And probably like 2 minutes later, I get a phone call back from the father going like hysterical, like what? And crying, like what did he say? And I told him all that he said. And I even told him about Hunter, and he was like, who's Hunter? And I said, it's a friend of my son's and my family's who's actually going through some similar issues that your son went through. And I don't know, maybe in the spiritual world, they just all know each other and they are looking out after each other. I said, I don't know. I'm just delivering a message. And so he just said, he did come to me in a dream. He came to me in a dream and a vision. And he told me the dream and the vision. And he said, thank you so much for relaying this message. I guess what was happening at the time that I had texted was him and his wife were meeting with the priest. And right when you're meeting with the priest over the death of your son, you're not going to answer a text unless it's something that you feel God, right, wanted you to do. And so when he looked down and he saw the words I was saying, I saw your son up on the mountain in a vision, of course he answered it. So he went back and he told his wife the message that I had. And he said that that was the most profound start of her healing, was to know that he was okay. And so I just thought, okay, God, it is so uncomfortable for me to do these things, but I'm learning to trust the timing and the randomness of things like this. And reaching out to someone who's in deep grief felt like it was so wrong to do on a worldly level, but on a spiritual level, it was the very thing that I needed to do. I was being called to do. So I was like, wow, that's amazing that God's using that to help you guys heal. And so that's that part of it. So as I'm progressing forward with my relationship with Hunter, my family friend's son and my son's best friend, if that makes sense, as I'm progressing forward with Hunter, who was still on this earth, and as the years were going by and our text relationship and all that stuff was really spiritual, and it was really profound, and it was barely, it was here and there, but it was always precise timing, as I said earlier. And so I remember we were up in Seattle about a year and a half ago, and I got a text from my best friend, one of my best friends, the mom of Hunter, and she said that Hunter is in the hospital with leukemia. And I remember thinking, no. And so I said, I will pray for him. And they were distraught, and they were trying to figure it out. But the doctors said it would be okay. He would be okay. So, of course, I texted Hunter because I already had that permission, right? And I said to Hunter, I will promise you, I am going to pray for you every day. I will promise you that. I will also ask for your permission to give you Reiki. I said, Rei means God's knowledge and Ki is life energy. And I'm asking you to give me permission to pray over you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, is what I always do, to bring you more healing. And I said, but I want your permission to do that so that you're receptive of the healing. And Hunter said, sure. He goes, I'll take anything right now. And I said, Hunter, we're behind you 100%. You're going to be okay. And then again, I said, which I always felt like I was supposed to say, you are going to be a mighty healer one day. And all this pain that you have had from the trauma that you went before your cancer, and now your cancer, is going to be used to help others heal. And so I remember just being super diligent, always texting him prayer hands, or just a thumbs up and a prayer hand, or whatever I felt the need to do that. I would let him know, I'm praying for you every day, every day, every day. Fast forward a little bit, and I have a practice of healing emotional and physical issues. And so Hunter called me and he said, Mrs. Husted, I am in so much pain. My back hurts so bad. I'm on my way driving to the emergency room to check myself in because I'm in so much pain. But I thought I would try you first. And I said, sure, come by my office. So I made room for him and he came by my office and I worked on him. And of course, I just loved that boy. And I sat there and I just worked on him, and I didn't feel any resistance. So a lot of times when I'm working on someone to release the trauma in their body and stuff, I can feel them tightened up and stressed out, but he wasn't tightening up and he wasn't stressed out. He was very much wanting healing. And so we sat there and talked, and I again told him, Hunter, I don't know why you have struggled so much in life. I don't know why, but I know you're going to be an amazing healer one day. All this is going to be used for glory, for other people's healings. It makes me kind of sad to talk about it right now because he suffered so much on this earth. Anyways, so he ended up not really feeling better after our stretch, and he ended up after our session, he ended up going into the hospital. And at this time he was in the hospital, it was my birthday time, and I had gone with a friend up in Cornville, Arizona, which is close to Cottonwood, close to Sedona. And my friend and I went on a girls' retreat. She's from Texas, and so we just went on a fun girls' retreat to celebrate my birthday. And I remember we rented out an Airbnb, and it was on this river, and it was surrounded by beautiful mountains. And I remember, and it was like a little vineyard even. And I remember telling my friend Kelly, I said, Kelly, this is a very holy place. And she's like, she was like, she's very intuitive too, but she's like, yeah, it is nice. I said, no, there's something very special about this place. And she said, it's really nice. But, I felt it on such a deeper level. So anyways, that day that we got in, Kelly and I went on this kayaking trip. We just went on the kayak trip for my birthday, and we were paddling down the Verde River. And I remember looking up at the sky and the mountains and the water and the little reeds in the water. And I remember looking up and going, wow, this is the exact painting that I painted 2 years ago or a year ago of the vision I keep having of a healing ranch, because I want to own a healing ranch where people come to heal. And I remember thinking to Kelly, we're canoeing, and I said, Kelly, I'm looking around, I'm like, this is my vision of my healing ranch area. I said, in Cornville, Cottonwood? I was like, oh my gosh, I thought it was going to be somewhere else. And she's like, it is really pretty here. And I go, yeah, it's really got a very beautiful, holy feeling here in this area. And then, so, again, I let that go. That night when we got back, we had a nice dinner, and Kelly and I love, I love hanging out with her because she's from Texas, and so they're 2 hours in front of us, right, ahead of us. And I love to go to bed early, so we went to bed early that night, and just kind of had a nice dinner and went to bed early and read. So I remember sleeping, and about at 4:30 in the morning, I hear this get up and meditate and pray. And I get that quite often. So I was like, oh gosh, I'm so tired. But I heard get up and meditate and pray. So I was thinking, God, I hope Kelly doesn't think I'm weird. She's across the room and I'm like sitting up in the middle of the night. So I sat up and I just said, okay, God, what do you want to show me? What do you want me to see? And literally, I felt like my spirit got pulled up and out of my body. It felt like an outer body experience. I really have never felt this before. And next thing I know, I feel like I'm astro traveling. I know I was over to Hunter in his hospital room. And I remember seeing my spirit hovering over him, sleeping. He was sleeping. And I remember praying over him. And I remember sparkly rain of love pouring over him. And I just remember praying, God, please heal him. Please heal his sick body. And as I was doing that, I just saw all this love. And I just sat there. And I remember my spirit just hovered over him. And I was praying, and I was telling him at the time, you are going to be a mighty healer. You are going to be a mighty healer one day when you heal from this cancer and from the other things that you've gone through. And then I come back into my body, and I was like, whoa, I thought that was weird. I also, during that time, had astro traveled over my healing ranch. And I remember the angels in my astro travel said, do not worry, this is coming. But I remember thinking, I was so confused. I don't even know how I would ever own a healing ranch or anything like that. It was just the most surreal, realistic dream / vision / astro traveling, or whatever you want to call it. And then I came back into my body. And I went back to sleep, and I was like, wow. And so in the morning, I told Kelly, you will not believe what I experienced. And so she said, my gosh, Kristen, that's amazing. She knows my gifts, and she says, I know that you did that, and I know that you are going to have a healing ranch one day. And I said, well, I don't know how, when, or why, but I know it will happen. So now I'm going to bring that story back to Hunter. So I was hiking with Hunter's mom and a friend of ours not shortly after I had visited Hunter in the hospital through my spirit. And I remember I asked my friend, I said, how is Hunter doing? And she said, oh my gosh, when he was in the hospital, he had a total vision of a calling from God that he was going to be healing and helping so many people once he gets healed from cancer and the other issues that he suffered from. And she said, I just am so excited. He has a vision, and he knows that his calling is to help people heal. And I said, do you realize, I don't know if you know, but I've been reaching out to Hunter for years now. And that is the very vision that I've been telling him, that God's been telling me to tell him. And I said, just last week when I was in Cornville with my friend Kelly, I was sleeping and I heard God say, get up. And I told a whole story of how I was over Hunter's body and I was in spirit, just seeing all this love and all this healing going over Hunter. And I remember telling him again that message from God that you're going to be a healer. And she goes, oh my gosh, that's so weird. And I remember my other friend, Heather, was like, I never get that. I want that kind of stuff. And I said, I don't know, you guys, why I get that, but that I believe is my gift. And so they said, we know you've always been highly intuitive. And so I said, so that matched what Hunter said he felt in the hospital as well. So that was like September, the end of September. And then I remember this one day, so again, Hunter and I's relationship of texting, he was a man of few words. He would never respond, which I told him, do not respond. I'm just doing what I'm called to do. But I kept doing that while he was in treatment for cancer and things like that. We'd bring him meals and things like that. So it was around Thanksgiving last year, the day before Thanksgiving, now that I'm remembering now. I was driving up to Carefree where I love to hike, and I went to this hike. And as I was driving up on my hike, I see a lot of signs and synchronicities. And as I was driving up to my hike, these two ravens were right in front of my car. And I get this message that something sad's going to happen today or soon. And I remember thinking, no, Lord, please, no. Something tragic. And I was like, gosh, am I making this up? Like, I don't want to be that doomsdayer, seeing signs and everything, but I'm learning to trust what I hear and see. So anyways, I get to the mountain and I start hiking, and I kind of forgot about the ravens, and I get a call from my son Connor. And I'm sorry, I want to back up a little bit. The day before this, I'm just remembering this, so this was Wednesday last year, and on Tuesday morning I was up on my mountain praying like I always do. And as I was praying, God said, stop praying, text Hunter. And I did. And I said again, hey Hunter, this is Mrs. Husted. And by this, he just was probably looking for my text. Again, I said, I'm so sorry for your pain. I'm so sorry for the trials that you've been through in life. You are going to be a mighty healer. And I sent it to him, and I actually had forgotten about that. So fast forward to now, I'm hiking and I get a call from my son Connor, and I wasn't trying to ignore him or anything, but I thought, I'll call him after my hike, because my Wi-Fi was a little sketchy. Right after Connor hung up, my husband called, and I was like, oh boy. And I answered, and he was crying, and he said, Hunter has passed away. And I was like, no. And I just started crying. And so I didn't even know what to say. And so I hung up and I called Connor right away, and my son, and he was bawling. And I said, Connor, I'm so sorry. That was his best friend from 9 months old. And they grew up together, and their family lived right a street away, and they played 24 hours a day. And so we were crying, and so I got off the phone from Connor, and right after that, I had actually called the mom of the son who passed away, my best friend, and she didn't answer. And then her husband called back and just told, just give us some space for a moment. We just found out. So really what had happened was Hunter had passed away, and the very first two people that his roommate had called before they had called 911 was Hunter's parents and my son. And so then they called 911. And so then I was actually within minutes of Hunter passing, I had actually reached out to his parents, and it was just devastating. The whole thing was devastating. So I pulled off on the trail, and I prayed to Hunter. I said, Hunter, and I was just crying. I said, I don't know why this is happening, but I promise you this. I will continue your legacy here on earth for you, for healing people. I will do it. Send me whoever you want healing. That is my promise to you. And I have told him that since. And so we go to the funeral, all this, it was just so sad. And of course I felt Hunter's presence, and he came and talked to me, and in a vision. He gave my son some signs. He was really, really profoundly around all of us at the time of his passing. So I remember after the funeral, I get a call from his grandfather, who I had never, ever given him a treatment with my company, my practice. I mean, he's never come to me, nor did I know that he knew what I really did. But he was crying, and he said, Kristen, I need to see you. And right then I knew Hunter was sending him to me. And I said, sure. He said he had actually bruised his ribs severely from crying, and he is so devastated. And I said, do you want to see me for physical healing, or do you want to see me also for emotional? I said, because I do both. He says, I need both. And I said, absolutely. So I went to his house, and because he was so deep grieving. And I've done a video on this. That's when I went to stretch him, to release the trauma in his body, to kind of give him comfort, and to do Reiki, God's healing over him. And as I'm stretching him, Hunter comes through and delivers dead on messages for his grandfather that I would never know. And it was specific stuff and names that he used to call his grandpa and his grandma, Nana and Papa, and how he sorry that he wrecked his white Escalade, and how he was a man of few words, and how he missed watching Cardinals games with his papa, and all this stuff was coming through when I'm working with his grandfather. And his grandfather is laughing and smiling, and I knew Hunter was giving him a message. And so afterwards I had said to his grandfather, I said, you have been given a gift today. I said, who knew? You just had a full-on conversation with your past grandson. I said, I have never experienced something so profoundly in my life. It just came out and came through. I mean, I have had spirits visit me and all that stuff, and my mom's come to me, and my mom, I can feel her talk to me, but this was profound, and it was things I would never have known. And he said, yes, Kristen, thank you so much. And that started his grandfather's healing. And not too far after that, we were up visiting Hunter's mom and dad, and I gave a treatment to Hunter's mom, and it was very releasing and therapeutic. And I gave it to his little sister, who is 9 years old at the time, and I gave her a treatment too. And just we were all just sobbing, and it was just beautiful. And I knew Hunter had led me there to give his sister and his mom treatments as well. So I've always known that I want to have a healing ranch where people come and heal physically and emotionally. And it was solidified in me once Hunter passed, and also my friend's son who passed, that I will do my life as I knew it was not my life anymore. It was God's. It was God's and Jesus's to use for healing of whoever they bring to me. And so that was my passion. And I started just to see more and more visions of this healing ranch that was coming. And so, I mean, to the T, where it had a river close by, and it had animals, and it had a guest home and a main home, and it had people came and stay for healing, and an organic garden, and a yoga place, and all this detailed stuff. So now I'm going to fast forward to, I had been working for years with these clients who are very well connected in the health and wellness industry, and they know, Dr. Mark Hyman and all these people who are on, TV, and have written books. And he does these marketing seminars every year that I volunteer at. And so these two are very highly connected in the health and wellness world. And they actually had sent me a referral from a guy named Joe Polish. And they said, hey, our friend Joe wants just a stretch from you. So I was like, great, thanks. So actually, I went to Joe's house. I normally don't go to people's houses, but high-end people, I don't want to say high-end people who are willing to pay more money will pay more money for me to do a house call. And so I go to Joe's house, and he opens the door. I'm like, I know you. And he goes, I know you. Well, he had gone to my clients' health and wellness seminars. He has written many books on marketing, and he actually owns Genius Network, which is a marketing company, and he has a lot of professional, well-known people who work for use him and his marketing company. And he goes, yeah, I remember seeing you. So anyways, so he says, yeah, I'm just a little bit tight. I have this shoulder issue and this hip issue. And I said, sure. I said, I do other things too. I do Reiki, God's knowledge, healing through God's knowledge and God's power. And then I do also, I'm highly intuitive. I can read from messages from God and the body to help for your healing. And so he said that he would love the whole 9 yards. And so I gave him everything that I offered. And after we were done, he said, you're really talented. And I said, well, thank you. I want to own a healing ranch one day. And he said, hey, I just did a podcast on Joanne Cacciatore, and she has a healing ranch right up in Cornville, Arizona. I was like, oh my gosh, that's really weird. And he goes, actually, she's looking for therapists. And I remember saying, no. I want my own healing ranch. And he said, well, it might be interesting for you to reach out to her and just, pick her brain. I said, well, yeah, that might be good. Then I remembered when I originally said no, I want my own healing ranch. I remember I've gotten several messages, very distinct messages, a couple years back that said, you will be given an opportunity to move somewhere. It will not make sense, but take it. I mean, that message has come to me, plus other messages that you'll be moving soon and pack up and get ready and stuff. And so I'd always tell my husband, like, oh, I'm getting that message again and this and that. And so anyways, I thought to myself, oh yeah, I remember that message I got. This might not make sense, but I'm going to follow any open door, right? I learned that from the Surrender Experiment book by Michael Singer. So I said, sure, I'll take her number. So he gave me everything, like her personal contact number and everything. So I'm learning in life to wait till I get those prompts that it's time to reach out. And so I remember it was like 5 minutes before I was supposed to go to a client's house, and I get that prompt to reach out to Joanne. So I emailed Joanne who I am and who Joe Polish was, and I'm interested in having my own healing ranch, but I'd love to come and check out her healing ranch. And next thing I know, I get a response right away. And it said, thank you for reaching out to me. I get 200 to 300 emails a day. So if it takes me a while to get back to you, please be patient. And I thought, so I remember I texted Joe. I said, Joe, like I just reached out to Joanne, but she gets 200 or 300 emails a day and she probably won't get my email. He goes, Kristen, just text her. I gave you her number. And I was like, I can do that? Like, I remember thinking, so I did. So I texted her, hey, Joe Polish, and I told the whole thing. I'm a healer, intuitive healer, fascial stretch, all that stuff. Sent it to her. Went to my client's house, worked on my client, got out from my client's house, and I got a text back from Joanne right away. And so I texted her back and I said, I'm available to talk. And she goes, me too. So we got on the phone and we talked. And she said, I'd love to see what you do. If you want to come up, I'm available Saturday. And this was Thursday. And I said, yeah, we'll come up. So my husband and I on Saturday drove up to her ranch. And we got to her ranch. I literally have been here before in my dreams or in another space and time. I could not get over that it was exactly what I had been seeing in my vision. And it was right up the river from where my friend Kelly and I had stayed, that I told Kelly, this is the picture I painted. This is my healing area. And so my head was just reeling when we got to the ranch and we met Joanne, and she's so nice. And she showed us all of her animals. And I remember just talking to her, and my husband and I were walking with her amongst all the adorable goats and the pigs and everything. I said, man, this is exactly what I have been envisioning. And even on her website was the very wording that I had written in my journal and on my vision board that I want to describe my healing ranch. So my head was just spinning with confusion. And I remember thinking to myself, if she has a river on her property, I'm going to poop my pants. I'm going to freak out. But I remember just thinking that. And I remember telling Joanne as we're walking back to see the horses, I said, well, my husband and I definitely want alpacas on our healing farm. And she said, oh my gosh, we have alpacas. And I said, of course you do, right? Because this is what I've seen in my ranch. And so she shows us the alpacas. And I remember again thinking, okay, if you have a river, then you have my property. And she goes, and here's the river with the kayaks and canoes that people go and just have fun and down the river. And I finally had to say to her, I said, Joanne, my head is spinning because this is all that I have been seeing in my visions for years and writing down and everything. And she's like, oh, she just, to someone else, it's just like, oh, but to me, it was profound. So anyway, so we go back to the respite home. Of course, she has a second home. She has her main home where her and husband live in, and then they have a respite home where people come and stay. And she was just showing us around the home, and even the color of her doors and her trim on her respite home were the very colors that my husband and I just painted on our house. We added French doors to make our home into a healing home where we have my office and a waiting room at our home property that people can come in through the outside. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, it's even the same color as our house. So my head again was spinning. I gave Joanne a whole stretch treatment, Reiki, told her all that I do and everything. And she was so excited. She's like, oh my gosh, Kristen, this is great. I want to do weekend retreats with you. I want you to come up and help. This would be great for my clients. And I was like, great, let's start this fall. Great. So we had this whole thing. About 3 weeks later or so, I emailed her and said, hey, I'm figuring my schedule out for September, and I just want to know, is Friday a good day for me to come up to volunteer and work with your clients? And then I'm interested in doing retreats. And she actually emailed me back and said, Kristen, I am so sorry, but basically they have a board, the Miss Foundation, the board actually probably told her, even though you think Kristen has a lot of great talents, we really can't have random people dealing with our clients who are in severe trauma until they are trained by the Miss Foundation. And even though in my practice I work with grieving parents all the time and trauma, PTSD patients a lot, they wanted to make sure that I had their specific training. And I get it. Even though I was bummed, I get it. I get that. So I said to her, I emailed her back. I said, sure, I get that. And she said, we're going to have another healing certification for grieving in March of 2022. And I said, well, I'll just do that one then. And so that was back in August that we had that conversation. So I kind of forgot about it, went on with my life, still seeing my vision, still seeing and knowing that we're going to get a healing ranch. I have a vision board. I have all these sticky notes on my bathroom mirror that says a beautiful home, people can come and heal, a casita for people to stay at, close to a river, close to mountains, all this stuff, animals, healing animals and stuff. And I've always made sure that my husband and I are on the same page because, of course, I don't want to drive the bus here. You know, I want to make sure that we are meeting in the middle on everything. So he said every time I'd wake up, you know, if I had a message and I'd be like, Mike, I just got another message that we're going to be moving soon. He's like, Kristen, I'm trusting you. If we're going to move, it's going to be a special house. It's going to be something special because we love our house here in Phoenix. And I said, okay, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So we started to get these inklings, these nudges to start looking up north. And Mike, my husband, kept saying, I really like Prescott area. And I said, oh, Mike, I love Prescott too. He goes, I love pine trees. And he would show me these beautiful homes with pine trees. He goes, this would be a great healing place. I go, I totally see that, but that is not my vision. My vision was the Verde Valley. My vision was Cornville, Cottonwood, Camp Verde area, Sedona, if you're familiar with that area. I said, that's where I saw my vision. And he's like, well, I don't want desert. He goes, I want trees. And I said, okay. So again, we keep meeting in the middle. So we just started looking. We weren't even really ready to do anything, nor did we think anything would happen soon. So about a month and a half ago, as we're just looking on Zillow, my husband saw this house and he's like, this house is spectacular. And it has an old historic barn and it's gorgeous and everything. And I remember looking at it going, that's really pretty. And he kept watching that house. It's almost like that house was calling him. And then I remember him saying, oh, Kristen, it's gone, it's pending. I said, oh, well, it wasn't meant to be, right? And so we just did a couple weekend trips where we would just drive up. I'd go, let's just drive up and let's just look at that area, see if we see anything. And I remember we were driving through the kind of high desert area and he kept going, I don't want high desert, I want trees. And I go, okay, we'll keep meeting in the middle. But I said, I do feel it's very spiritual in the Verde Valley area. And that's, again, Sedona area. It has just a beautiful, very spiritual feeling. So anyways, we went home and then we came up again another weekend and we thought, oh, let's look around. Let's look around Camp Verde. Camp Verde was calling my name a little bit. And so we went, we just drove by this one house that was for sale and it had this big, long entryway. And with like two driveways coming through that met in the middle. And right when it met in the middle was a cute little chicken coop. And then it had a little house, little casita / garage. And then it had this beautiful main house. And I was like, well, this is amazing. So as we're driving around, just looking on the road, we did it a couple times in the driveway, looking around. We peeked in the backyard and stuff. A woman came by and said, excuse me, are you looking to look at this house? And I said, yes, but we don't have a realtor. And she goes, actually, my niece is the one listing this house. She said, let me call her. I said, great. I don't want to interrupt, but we would love to. We're from Phoenix. We'd love to. So here comes our new realtor, Britta, and she drives up, and actually this house was her parents' house. So she told us all about the area. And as she was telling us about her parents' house, she said, but it does have an offer coming in, a full price offer coming in today. And so I just wanted you to know that. I said, oh, that's okay. I mean, this is kind of what we want. And I said, but we're not ready. She goes, have you looked at this house? And so she said, the house that my husband had been looking at for a couple months. She goes, have you seen this house? And I said, oh my gosh, that's the one my husband keeps looking at. I said, we drove by, but there's something about the front entryway that didn't feel as grand as this. We want it for a healing ranch. And she goes, oh, but it's a beautiful house. And I said, well, maybe when we come up next weekend, and or maybe we can look at it another time. And so we kind of forgot about that house. We went back home, and I remember Mike going, I really like that one house. And so I go, yeah. So anyways, Mike kept looking at that house, and our realtor called us or texted us and said that house actually has now been sold. And I go, oh, okay, wasn't meant to be. So we kind of put that off. And so it's really interesting because Mike kept getting drawn to that house. And I get a call from the realtor that we're working with in Camp Verde, and she said, that house is back on the market. And I said, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? My husband keeps looking at it. He's so excited. So we actually went back up a week later. I said, well, we can't make it till Sunday. I work full time, and so does my husband. So can we come on Sunday? And this was on Monday or something like that. And she said, yes. I said, do you think someone's going to offer on it before? She goes, I think you're fine. And so we waited till Sunday, and we go in, and we had been praying that whole week. Like, we just want to know signs and synchronicities that this is going to be our future healing farm. And that whole week in my prayer and my meditation time, in my prayer room, which I'm sitting in right now, my light would go on and off all the time. The bathroom light early in the morning would go on and off all the time. I kept seeing the numbers 333, like nobody's business. Like, I saw 333, 333 when I turned on the car, 333 when I looked at the clock, 333 when someone would tell me their address. Like, that number kept coming in my face. And I'm like, what does 333 mean? So I remember looking it up on the internet, going, what is the spiritual meaning of 333? And it says it means that your angels and your guides are guiding you. Your angels and your past loved ones are guiding you. And I was like, oh, well, maybe it has to do with the house. I couldn't figure it out. Anyway, so it comes to the day that we're going to go look at the house. And I always put my phone on silence before I go to bed. And I remember hearing my phone chime in the middle of the night. And I was like, gosh darn, I forgot to put it on silence, I guess. I pick up my phone and I look at it, and it says 333. And by this time, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that we are on the right path with this house. And the other side is telling us for sure this is a right path. And I'm like, okay. And I said, thank you. And so I put my phone down, made sure it's off. We go to the house, and I remember Mike and I had prayed before we left, and I said, we've got to be on the same page. We don't want to do anything rash. And I remember telling Mike, I go, really don't want to do anything that is stressful for us, that is forcing anything. It's going to fall in our lap, and it's going to fall right in front of us. And then we will know, because I really, at this age in my life, at this stage of our game, we don't want to be wrestling with trying to force things. It's not how it works. So we get up and we get to Camp Verde, and we look at the house. And as soon as we stepped in it, we both looked at each other like, this is it. It is hands down the most holy, beautiful property I have ever been on, and same with my husband. And so it had everything that I had written down on my vision board. It's across the street from a river. It's close to mountains. It has, it's horse property. It has a barn that we're going to turn into, it's a historic barn that we're going to turn into like an Airbnb or a respite home, I guess I should say, for people to come and stay when they're grieving. It has a treatment room where I would do my treatments. It has a big area for a farm table where the grieving parents or the grieving PTSD D people or whoever I'm treating at the time will come, and we'll have family meals and things like that. So it was like everything that both of us have ever dreamed of. And we just knew that this house was calling us. And so we made an offer on it. And long story short, they countered on the offer and we accepted their counter. And the morning that we accepted their counter, I remember talking to a realtor and she said, okay, well, I won't be home till 2:00 in the afternoon. She said, but I will put your counter offer in then. And I was like, I got this like kind of feeling. I said, well, Britta, what if someone is waiting in the driveway to make an offer on this home? Do we have first priority right now because we have a pending offer? She goes, actually, no, that's a good point. I said, well, I'd rather you get the offer in now if you're okay. She says, good point. So she put the offer in right then, and lo and behold, we found out later that Britta had told us that there were people waiting in the driveway for the owners to reject our offer, because the owners actually had said, we're going to wait until Mike and Kristen give their offer before we entertain any other offers, which was really kind of them, because someone could have come in for full price. I mean, we did get whatever. Someone could have come in with cash and got it and all that stuff. So it was another confirmation that this house is actually calling us. And so it's really been an amazing journey. This is the place that I know that we are going to start our healing farm. The other synchronicity that I just want to set into motion in the story that I'm telling is our friend whose son passed, my son's best friend who passed away. His last name is actually the last name of our realtor. And the woman who owns the Healing Ranch, which now is going to be 15 minutes away from our home, her last name means hunter in Italian. So there is no way that I am not connecting the dots on the signs that Hunter is sending from the other side to say, trust the journey, because this move does not make sense, as I had heard earlier in my career. My husband works remotely, so it's perfect for him, but this does not make sense because I have a very, very thriving practice here in Phoenix, and to move an hour up north or hour and 20 minutes doesn't make sense, but I know it's where God's calling me. So I tell that story mostly because it's a very important story for me to tell. And I think it's also very important for people to see that the other side is right there guiding us and loving on us. And it's also very important for me to tell because all this is coming together for some great story of healing that I don't even understand right now. And so I will, as more pieces of the puzzle come together, I will keep my audience abreast of the situation. But it's really also mainly because I wanted to tell this story because it's an important story to tell. That signs and synchronicities are always around, and past loved ones are not far. It's a very thin veil, and they're right here with us. So ask for guidance, ask for help and support, and talk to them and listen for any signs, listen for any thing that they're sending your way. Ask them for specific things, but rainbows, butterflies, white feathers, or even more specific if you want to really see how crazy connected we all are, and how they never die, they just transform, and we'll all be together one day. So stay tuned for more amazing healing stories. Thank you.